Hello, we are group 21, and our, presentation and project is based off of the brain controlled car. Um, our group is Renato Safra, Jasper Obiakoro, John Lancaster, Johnny Garcia, and Giancarlo Balagtas. So, first things first is what is it? Um, as the name suggests, it is a car that is controlled through cognitive function, right? So, like the brain. In this case, is the brain. Um, Consider that there are different ways that brain powered cars can work by measuring brain waves either through magnetoencephalogram, near infrared spectroscopy, functional magnetic resonance imaging, or electroencephalogram. Brain Driver, which is the article that we read, or one of the articles that we read, this is based off of. They use an electroencephalogram to graph brainwaves. Um, the car then reacts and moves based on how users think. This kind of project, this whole kind of idea, is focused primarily on helping the physically disabled. So those that don't have, let's say, a 100% functionality for all their limbs, and it'll help them so that they are more capable of driving. The idea was derived from prosthetics that also take brainwaves and translates them into mechanical functions. The technology that is implemented in this project, the autonomous driving systems, which is the artificial intelligence, the brain controlled interface, which is the human intelligence, and the car kind of uses a combination of both AI and human intelligence. The human intelligence portion is used as the main controller of the vehicle. The artificial intelligence allows the car to adapt in certain situations and picks up patterns and routes in order to better assist the driver. Some of the car features, it has a electroencephalography device. For example, which we'll talk about this soon, is the Emotive Epoch Neuro headset. The computer screen for the user interface. So when you're setting up the car or need to set up like settings and stuff, that's where it's at. Video cameras, radars, both SMS and TRW, laser sensors, which will allow the car to get a full 3D 360 degree view of its surroundings, and its own independent GPS system. So how it works. The Emotive headset uses brain controlled interface to translate the brain waves that are coming from the driver, and then it goes into the computer and kind of out through the car, but more of like the car understanding what you're trying to tell it and mimics what kind of like the command. It follows the command of the user. This allows the car to either go forward, brake, left turn, right turn, and And then the following slides will showcase more on how the car might work, which includes like part systems. The Emotiv Epoch headset. The headset picks up brainwaves to then send to the program to execute a command. The user has to train the headset to recognize certain commands. So that's where like the AI comes in. Most AIs are kind of like neural, I believe it's called neural network or something, and basically learns as we grow. Your brain fires electrical currents from neuron to neuron to communicate with one another. Electroencephalograph is a machine used to interpret the amount of brainwaves being sent and then organizes it into a graph. Electrodes, the discs that conduct electrical activity, are hooked up to the user's head in pairs, and then brainwaves are sent through a wire to the machine. Different patterns of brainwaves are associated with different emotions and thoughts. It uses BCI interface, which is developed by Emotiv itself. The headset can interpret up to 30 different emotions, expressions, and actions. Comes with 7 pairs of electrodes to connect, but there is also a wireless for the headset. And then there's also a gyroscope feature to track head movement. And then here we go to the brain-controlled interface. So it is used to create a link from the brain to a computer or other forms of technology. The closer the electrodes are to the brain, the better the signal there is to measuring the brainwaves. The signals being received by the brain is sent to the software that would control the computer. The electroencephalogram, or EEG, it monitors the brainwaves and then interpret it through the software. Software has machine learning algorithms to recognize what the EEG tracks. Commands in the software are associated with certain EEG data to then control the computer. Development can be useful for further improvement in AI and neural networks. So there are 2 different categories that the devices, in this case the brain control interfaces, what they are divided into, and they are invasive and non-invasive. So the first one, invasive, they are electrodes that are permanently placed in the user's brain. This will include, usually through surgery or through incision of the flesh, and implanting some inanimate object inside essentially your head to monitor your brainwaves in order for this process to work, essentially. So the signals from the brain are recorded from single cells or from multiple groups of brain cells. And then this is mainly used for the user to regain special sensations and motor functions. Non-invasive, which is what we talked about, kind of just briefed upon earlier, is the EEG device, which are just basically electrical activity monitoring devices that are connected on your head instead of in your head. The advantage is it's easy to use and relatively low damage to the human body, that are significantly compared to the invasive techniques, because there's no actual incision of the flesh, there's no putting stuff inside a body, so everything that happens is strictly external. And then it records brain activities through the scalp. So the artificial intelligence, these cars contain autonomous driving structures. This allows the car to take over in case of emergency situations. So if things just happen, either the driver falls asleep or the driver has some sort of medical emergency, the artificial intelligence should be able to take over and essentially leading the driver to safety rather than the car just going out of control. Computers will automatically track and store routes for later when autonomous driving is needed. AM satellite radio allows the car to monitor traffic. Anti-collision sensors are used by the car to monitor the car's environment for up to 180 meters. Automatic security system includes monitoring the frequency of the driver's brainwaves, which will then send an alert if the frequency falls under 4 hertz. The computer asks for the destination, and the autonomous driving takes over if the driver fails to respond to the alert. Some possible drawbacks of the car. The driving the car will require precision and fast reflexes, especially at higher speeds. Delayed response rates make these cars very dangerous. But that's as such for all cars as well, but specifically this car is. Drivers must maintain razor sharp focus in order for the computer to recognize brain functions, and this is probably the hardest, especially for those who have been driving for a long time. Nowadays we drive kind of like through muscle memory, where it's like oh, I just put my foot here, a foot there, but you're not constantly thinking like, oh, my foot is just this much to the left or my foot is this much to the right. That's kind of like the focus it needs to be. Or for instance, I'm this many seconds away from the car in front of me. How fast am I going? Those are kind of things that you would usually want to focus on. And it'll be pretty hard to maintain this focus, especially with factors like busy streets where there's a lot going on and it's hard to keep your attention to actually driving. Then there's also lots of street signs. So, for instance, you're too busy reading the sign where you lose track of where you're going, and possibly leading into a car accident. How we see the car in the future. For now, the car is only seen as a technological push to show that it exists, that the technology is there, and that it's capable of having humans use their brain to work a machine. I don't plan, or we don't plan in seeing it on the road anytime soon. There is still much development needed to be done so it can match regular cars in terms of safety and all that. Cars is mainly the car is mainly developed for people with physical disabilities, like we've said. But when technology becomes more advanced and secure, anyone can use it. At that point, becomes more of a luxury. Lawmakers will have to implement laws that allow the production of these cars, as well as allowing them to be street legal. And these are our references where we got this information from. Thank you.